After the first episode of Daryl Dixon, there seems to be a general consensus that it kicked off to a solid and promising start. And as I said in my episode 1 review, we now have our group assembled as they head north, and in episode 2 we get right into that, but first we do get a flashback. In this, we see Isabelle in a nightclub taking drugs and getting up to lots of different shenanigans as we see the outbreak begin in France. And I always enjoy seeing those early stages of the outbreak. We saw it in Fear the Walking Dead as well. And it's just seeing how characters and how different people react to such a dramatic situation and world-changing situation. And even though this isn't set in the UK, it was interesting to sort of see how the reaction was on this continent. And, for example, seeing the walkers on the metro, you can easily relate that to seeing them on the underground in London, for example. And so it really did give you, for me personally anyway, that feeling of, oh my god, this is how it could go down where I am. While Isabelle is amongst the chaos of the walkers attacking and people running for their lives, she gets saved by a man called Quinn. Before they travel away from the area, they pick up Isabelle's sister Lily, who's not looking so great, and it is revealed that she is in fact 7 months pregnant. Now throughout the episode, these flashback scenes are intersected with our present day storyline, but to keep things focused, I'm going to stay on the flashback scenes and just cover all that first, and then we'll get to the present day storyline later on. On their travels, they stop off at a petrol station and Quinn reveals to Isabelle that he knows that Lily is pregnant and suggests that they drop her off at a clinic because wherever they're going, apparently they wouldn't be able to help Lily in her situation. Isabelle swipes the car key and drives away with her sister, leaving Quinn stranded. Of course, we are going to see more of Quinn in future episodes, and I'm intrigued to see more about him because he's been very mysterious so far. What are his actual intentions? We don't know, and so yeah, I'm intrigued to see in these next 4 episodes what we do get from this character. Back to Isabelle and Lily, and while they're driving they see an emergency vehicle on the side of the road, and so they pull over and get out of the car, which probably wasn't the best idea. They probably should have waited a bit longer, but anyway, they get out of the car and then they see some walkers, and so they try to get back into said car, but while doing so, a walker does grab Lily, and I did think at this moment, is she getting bit here? And we do find out that she did in fact get bit. We actually see the evidence of the bite when the sisters get to the Abbey, and this all now starts to connect things for Isabelle, so we know how she became a nun in the first place. It wouldn't be a TV show without a childbirth scene, and this one is something completely different from what we've seen before because she turns into a walker midway through labour, and so effectively a walker has given birth to a baby. Now I certainly haven't seen anything like this before, although it did remind me of season 6 of The Walking Dead because around that time people were speculating about Maggie's baby, thinking the baby might die and then eat her from the inside. No, quite gruesome, but fortunately that did not happen. We did get Herschel, but maybe that was an inspiration for the creators, I have no idea. But anyway, we got this moment here, and that is why Laurent is such a special child, and of course we find out that he is the nephew of Isabelle and that he got named after Saint Laurent. So yeah, in terms of these flashback scenes, I enjoyed seeing some backstory for Isabelle. She certainly does have a shady past, and I'll be intrigued to see how that integrates into these future episodes and how that might cause some conflict. I think with Quinn, again, he'll come into that as well. And then also, of course, with Laurent, learning how he is, in fact, a special child. I wasn't expecting that to be the cause, but yeah, it was very interesting to learn all that. And it does also work well with what we do see in the present day because that is more of a light-hearted story compared. So getting on to that present day storyline, as our group move north, Daryl has to let loose the mule they have to distract some walkers up ahead, and not long after, they get captured by a group of children. They get asked by the kids who they are, and Isabelle says that they're nuns, and even says that Daryl is in fact Father Daryl. The leader of this group is a character called Lou, and she shows our group around where they've been living, which includes a rundown preschool, and we find out that the teacher who's been guiding them through the apocalypse is now ill and has been ill for many months and doesn't have long left. With this group, they certainly have those similarities with the Lost Boys from Peter Pan, and when they ask Father Daryl to say grace and then he eats his soup and they all copy him in the same fashion, it is that sort of following the leader mentality. After this scene, we find out that some of the kids went on a supply run to get some medicine for their teacher but have not returned. Where they went to was this nearby castle, which also includes a man with a horse, and that definitely pricks up the ears of Daryl as he then agrees to go and get the supplies so he can get said horse and be on their way. Now Daryl knows that this medicine's not going to help save their teacher, so he is deceiving these children, and in the same way Isabelle's doing the same thing to Laurent, and I think that's something which, you know, as they're both liars, it does bring them together, and we see that in that scene where he offers to sleep on the floor. She says no, and there is definitely a connection building there. And as we saw in the flashback as well, you know, Isabelle's seen her sibling turn into a walker and in such a gruesome manner, and so they both have that in common too, that they've seen their sibling turn and have to deal with that loss. But there is some happiness as we see Daryl enjoy an episode of Mork and Mindy with the kids. I liked how they got the TV going with the exercise bike. And again, there we just see that, you know, it's something where Daryl explains that him and Muriel used to enjoy watching it in their youth. And so we learn a bit more about him, and also something which he used to escape, that escapism. And I think that's something we can all relate to. We all have our different ways to escape from the world as it is now. And so having to have that as well in the apocalypse must have been quite a satisfying moment for Daryl, actually. To the main action scene of the episode, and we see Daryl get into the castle, and again, seeing castles in this universe is pretty cool, and seeing the walkers in the dried up moat. But yeah, he gets into the castle, saves one of the missing kids there, and then he does a little bit of his usual stealth work to get to the man, and we find out that the man is an American. To be specific, he says that he's from Texas, and he says that he hopes to return to his family. Daryl tells him the bad news though, that the grass is not greener over there. Daryl captures the man and takes the supplies and the horse, but as they're leaving the castle, the man tries his luck with Daryl. They get into a scrap and they both fall into the moat. The guy gets completely destroyed by the walkers. Daryl does a lot better, of course, it's Daryl. And then he gets pulled up by Lou and some of the other kids. And when we're there, we see that one of the kids is a walker actually in the moat, and one of the brothers of one of the kids there. So we do have that theme once again of a brother or a sister seeing their sibling as a walker. And so the horse now acquired, the group get back onto their journey, but Laurent wants to stay behind because, of course, he's been on his own for so long, having those other kids around. You know, he's actually got some friends from this experience, and also he's not very happy with Isabelle as he finds out we found out the mule was killed, and Isabelle said that the mule will be okay. So again, he doesn't know who to trust at the moment. And he's getting annoyed that he's being so protected by Isabelle and not understanding what makes him so special. Why is he a miracle child? Before the episode ends, we do see an injured Quinn as he goes back to the Abbey and finds a recording which Daryl left behind, and so now he knows the destination and will be on their trail. Lastly, we see Daryl talk to Laurent, and you can see how this connection is going to build because Daryl himself knows what it's like to be an outcast. So in all, I thought this was another enjoyable episode. I don't think it was as good as the first one, but I do think we did learn quite a bit here and there, especially in the flashback sequences, learning about Isabelle, learning about how Laurent is a miracle, but the whole Messiah prophecy, I am still worried about what they're going to do with that, but we'll have to wait and see still with that one. From the promo for episode 3, it looks like the show's going to start expanding and really start to take some shape. It also just teased another Walker variant, so I'm excited to see that. And you know, with episode 3, it is going to be the first half complete of Daryl Dixon. So you know, it's kind of nuts how we only got 6 episodes, but it has got a lot to do in little time. But yeah, I'm still on board, and I can't wait to see the new settings the show has to offer as well. But let me know your thoughts on this episode. What did you think on episode 2? Did you enjoy it? Was it better than the first one for you? Let me know it all down in the comments below. And if you want to watch another video, on screen is our review for A Haunting in Venice.